Good evening. Welcome to the 11th session of One by One Gupshup hosted by the Rajasthan and Gujarat chapters of ISOLA. I hope all of you are keeping well. Before we start, we had some queries from our participants about receiving emails from Eventbrite. I just wish to update the audience that we have moved to this new platform and the emails will be sent from the same platform hereafter. Please ask your questions in the chat box and we will take them up during the Q&A session. Today we have with us Miss Shruti Humane from Pune. Shruti completed her Masters in Landscape Architecture from CEPT University, India. She is a partner at Studio Humane, run jointly with her husband Sunil Humane. The design studio is practicing contemporary architecture, landscape and interior design for the last 10 years. The firm believes that the most complex and beautiful solutions are often the simplest. They are recipient of several awards, including IIA awards, A+D awards, AESA awards, and IIID awards for the past many years. Their work has been widely published in the leading national and international architecture magazines and books. Thank you for joining us today, Shruti.
Thank you so
I
much.
request you to present your work.
Thank you. I hope everybody can hear me.
Yes, you're audible.
Great. Thank you so much, Sandeep. Thank you, Bobby sir. It's an honor to be here. The 10 earlier people who have presented have set a standard. I hope to match that. And with Bobby sir around, it's almost like giving a jury in college because he's taught me. Yeah. So I think I should just start my presentation, Sandeep.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. A very good evening, everyone. Thank you so much to tune in. Uh, Today, I've got the privilege to present myself or my work of my office in front of all of you. Um, we we are a practice where we do architecture, interior, and landscape, all the three facets of design together. But we don't identify them as three different. So we go by this line that I don't divide architecture, landscape, and garden. To me, they are one. The great Louis Barragan has said that. So we really follow it to the T. To give a brief introduction, which Sandeep has already given, yes, we are a firm which designs all the three, and we've got fortunate to get few awards for our work. This is both of us. Sunil, he is from JJ. I am fortunate to be from CEPT. I worked with Ravi and Varsha ma'am for 2 years, and I think that's the place where I really learned that simple lines, straight lines, simple lines can go a big way in design. So I'm in debt to Varsha ma'am for making me learn that. Today's presentation and the way we work at office is that we believe in creating spaces which have the three constants throughout. So be it residential, be it commercial, or be it any institutional project, these three constants are what are always with us. So what are those? Those are the context. The context could be the site, the client, the climate around. So from that context, what we derive is the concept, and then what we get is the content. So the content is design, the content is material, the content could be the project itself. So these three have been our constant teachers, and this is what we go by for every project. So today's presentation, what I have tried to do is I have shortlisted 4 such projects where I think I can kind of tell or showcase the way we have been working. The first project, it's called a brick house. Uh, it is in Sholapur. Few of you might be aware of Sholapur. It's a city in Maharashtra. It's known for its textile mills and a very vibrant culture. The climate-wise, the place is extremely hot and very arid. So This was the context. Sholapur. These are the markets, the textile markets of that place. It's very well known for its folk art, paintings, the textile mills, handloom mills, colors everywhere. So this was what the context was. Sholapur chadars, most of you might be knowing, they have very beautiful patterns on that, and nowadays people are using it in a different way. So this is how we thought to use that in our project. The other visual context for us was the mills themselves. So when we visited the city around, we found all these beautiful structures in brick. So they were constant reminders of the beautiful past. Unfortunately, most of them are not working anymore, but they're still there, and they represent a very beautiful history of the place. So this was the crux. This was the whole context that we developed for ourselves, visual context. This was a house for a very well-known person in that place. He's a politician, and this particular house there was supposed to be Vastu compliant, so the square did come. In terms of placing of the building, yes, we have placed it centrally to the plot. The plot actually is much bigger, so this particular is part of that plot. This is a 15-acre site. The rest of it is their farmlands and their other activities that they do. They have a lot of stuff going on. This is a part of the site. We placed the building in a centrally on the site so that I have enough foreground and the background for other allied activities. As you can see, the plan is very, very square, very according to Vastu, everything. What we tried here uh, is how we could represent our context on the building, make it more visual. So what we actually did is we tried to create brick panels which envelop the whole building. I hope you can see the cursor that is going. So those are the panels which we designed all throughout the building. It's like an envelope, and then displayed what we wanted to through again the same material, brick. So, these are the visuals, the first visual maybe, of how we approach the project and how it looks today. What the landscape does is only complements the building. It is something that gives a beautiful foreground, gives you a hint of what you can see further, a dash of red in the plant material just to complement the bricks themselves. uh, this brickwork on site was extremely hands-on, so it was a big learning experience. We did every pattern here with our own hands along with the masons on site. So they were the teachers here for this particular project. It was wonderful working with them. The second, as I told you, was the climatic context. So it was arid site. So we had to go in for some architectural interventions like cavity walls. So these are the cavity walls, and this is how the rest of the panels come up one after the other. And every panel we have tried to be different. We have tried to have not a very 2D look, but a 3D kind of effect here by protruding, by turning the bricks around. Um, the patterns also continue in landscape. I thought the landscape here just has to be, supplementary to landscape in terms of the plant material, supplementary to the project itself. The water body helps us to uh, take the cool air inside. So these are few of the 3Ds, study 3Ds that we made, and this is how it looks. So every panel is different. Every panel represents something different in the chadars. This is how it would look, in the evenings. The shadows created are pretty interesting. These are few other landscape elements which create the foreground for the project. Another dash of red compound wall. We also tried few other things like soak pit and taking the whole rainwater at one place. So this particular banana and the other places where that happens. So none of the water goes out of the side. So we have a soak pit. We have other few things that we have done from day one. So for us, it was important that the architecture, interior, and landscape flow seamlessly into each other. There shouldn't be a boundary which restricts one from the other. So the flow is what is very, um, I think, has happened that way. So this is how you see it from the interiors. This is the internal courtyard. We thought to keep it as minimal as possible because there were lot many things happening on the outdoor. So over here, to give it more of a zen feeling, to give it a more of a minimalistic look, the central courtyard, which has a skylight or a big opening on the top, is very minimal. This is the rear courtyard. Here we have played with a lot of grasses and flowy plant material again to contrast to the rigidity of the bricks. There would be a movie clip which we have tried to make for the project. I'll just Sandeep, I hope the music is here.
Yes.
Thank you. So uh, was the small movie that we tried to create to explain the project. The next project is in South India, near Kerala. It's a small place called Arur. This particular site was for Suhana Masalas. You might have heard them. They have many factories all over India. So this one happens to be in south of India. This particular site is part of a bigger factory campus. So essentially, it had a very rugged and very not so great surroundings. So we decided to create something within the site for ourselves. So the architecture of the place, the South Indian, the Keralite architecture, and the climate of the place was the context that we created for ourselves. A plan. It's a complex of two buildings. The main house, the retreat, and the other is uh, a place where their staff would stay. Uh, Again, here it was a courtyard planning. It had a bigger site, this one, and we have created kitchen gardens. So pitch here to at the lowest uh, level of the site and things like that. It's a sloping roof project. So few of the architectural sections with the courtyard, yes. The banana is here as well. Few of the um, architectural details. Yeah, this is how it looks now. Local material of laterite, kadapa is what we use the most in landscape. Um, Royos to complement the red of the laterite and the whole visuals. Uh, this is the arrival area of the house, and this is the central uh, courtyard. The structure here, the columns, the panel, everything we have salvaged from an old house nearby. Sorry, an old house nearby, and then we kind of used it. So it's extremely authentic to the place, I would say. So this is that one old salvage part, and then we have kind of used it everywhere. The plant material also shows the tropical Kerala heat. Again, this would also have a small movie clip for itself. hopefully these two earlier projects I have kind of showed you that because we do all the three parts of the design, same design together, it has helped us a lot uh, in having a wholesome design which really interflows very seamlessly. The next project is this particular weekend house is the first architectural project that we did. This was way back in 2009. Here, the site itself was the context for us, the topography of the site, and the views that we had looking beyond the site. So this was the site we had two really shallow, but two ridges and a shallow valley between. So the first look at this project, and we had the first sketch ready in our mind that we would take advantage of these two ridges and have a back box which spans across these two ridges, and then of course treat the place uh, as it was, without changing the topography much. And this is what remained with us till the end of the project. This box, so we call this a box house. This is the plan. It expands from one ridge to the other. Because it was a weekend house, the requirements were basic. Here we have tried to retain every existing tree, all possible existing trees. Did not change the topography whatsoever. Because it was a ridge and a valley situation, we had water flows which we tried to train, below the building, have its overflow into a lotus pond that we created, and then beyond to a nala nearby. Here we literally did not cut and fill anything other than just the foundations. We used the topography the way it was. We hardly changed any of the natural stuff around. So this is how neatly the box was kept on the day the construction part was over. And today this is how it looks. So the concept of box and the minimal intervention also carried forward in the landscape with very minimal elements, uh, so to say. So one lotus pond which collects the water, few grasses, benches and stuff salvaged from the old stuff around. So very, very minimal, very basic. The roof water also gets to the same lotus pond. So this is how we have taken a spout through the wall itself, which goes beyond the basic veranda right there. The floating edge to give the box a sculptural feel, which was necessary to make it look part of here it is very modern looking box, but neatly placed on the side. We planted a lot of fruit trees around because this is part of a school which is called a heritage residential school, and there were kids coming. So we have labeled all the trees that we planted. We have planted a lot of, now it's much denser now after the photography. So we have labeled all the trees. It's like a picnic for the school children that come to this house. This is the principal's house in the school. The interiors very basic, just a dash of green with black and white. This next project, this one is very much in Pune, but outskirts. This again was a retreat. It's not a first house. And over here, the context was the client. So this time, it wasn't the place, but the client themselves. So they were from a very, aristocratic Maratha family, very well known in their field, with a lot of the connections. They had lived their lives in Vadas as kids, and now in Pune in flats. So what they wanted us to do is get those memories, get back to the roots of the Vada. So stone is something that we have to work around. And the site was of extremely sloping site. So taking all these things together, we came up with the solution, which have a lot of elements of the Maratha architecture. Stone walls, the gargoyles, the deep stamba, the wooden doors, and the side, because it was heavily controlled site. We knew we should not, have a plan which is a lot a very boxy one. So we went for a linear plan which sits neatly onto a contour which had the minimum slope. So this project actually we designed a section before we could design the plan itself. So the section was devised. This is how it would sit on the site, and then we developed a plan for it. Because it was heavily contoured, we have done few things like contour bonding. We did a lot of work on the kitchen garden and retaining every bit of water that comes to the site with soak pits, with to the plant material which was there. We did not cut even many of the grasses which were around. Only for the only for the house part is what we changed. This is the model that we kind of made. So the landscape, the design landscape part is only around the house. Rest is the site itself, and we try to bring in as much elements like the Deepastambha, the Kund, the gargoyles of the architecture around us in Pune. This was the section of the site and the building. So this is how it looks today on site. We have not gone for any lawns or any typical greens for the project because we thought the ruggedness of the stone and the building itself, should have that kind of foreground. Lawn would look very plastic. The lawn would look very artificial for this type of building. So we did not do that uh, over here. But grasses is what we used a lot. This box might have reminded you of the project that I just showed you before this one. Yes, the planning is very much same if you kind of compare. So this plan was very treated like a form, a grid, a very rigid form, and we stayed true to it. But then this is a similar plan, extremely similar, but just the articulation of it is what has changed the looks and the feel of the site and the surroundings for us. Again, a small bit of comparison can be other side. The grasses here, I have used a lot of grasses here to again complement to the ruggedness of this stone and the color that we get from the contrast. This is the garden, small garden in front, and this is how it looks. The Deepastambha, the gargoyles, the Ganpati, which we have tried to frame, and a small toilet court. Every toilet here, every room here has its own court. Again, I would go for a movie clip here. Yeah, Sandeep. This brings me to the end of what I had to show you today. I hope I was clear enough to tell what I'm doing all this while, and it's an honor to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Wonderful work. I think you can stop presenting. Uh,
Thank you. I'm not such a
uh,
good orator, so what I did is made my life easy by having few videos put. I hope that's okay.
yeah, absolutely. That's wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you.
So before we ask some, so you can stop presenting in that
Okay,
screen.
okay, okay. I didn't realize. Sorry. Stop present. Yeah, I did that.
Before we start with the questions, I had a question to ask you. Uh,
Please, please.
yeah. So how is it to run a firm that is a landscape architect and an architect?
uh, it has both advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is that get a cohesive kind of a design where you really don't separate within the three genres of design. So we hope that the spaces that are created are more seamless. But yes, there are disadvantages because, especially because we are husband-wife doing it, so there are a lot of arguments. There are a lot of prioritizing what, especially the money which comes from the client. If it's a different person doing it, it is allotted differently. But when you have everything at one place, prioritizing becomes difficult at times. Other than that, I don't find. In fact, it's the better way to handle design, I feel.
Absolutely.
So till now, it's been a pleasure working on such things together.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always a different kind of challenge, right? When you're in house,
Of course, of
both.
course. So yeah, it's been a good journey.
Yes. So Shaili here has a question about, I think, about what is the general soap pit that you mentioned.
Uh, Soap pit is basically we dug uh, a pit to take in all the storm water, rainwater that comes there. We have a filter medium so that not even a single drop of water from the side goes outside. It recharges the ground water. So at two places, because it was very rocky, we literally dug a bore well and then put the water. At one place, the Barshi house, it was farmland, so we did not have to do that. We just made a soak pit, which is like a 4 feet by 4 feet and a 4 feet deep uh, pit, which allows the water to be filtered and goes inside the ground.
Right. Kavita has a question, which is a very interesting one. So she says, there's a lot of beautiful artwork in all your projects. How do you source it?
Uh, the artwork is sourced from two, three places. First, was Tambatari and the small, very much in Pune. Then, as the budget started increasing, first we went to Kochi, and the last project we had enough budget to go to Bali. So that is where it came from. It depends on the budget.
Wonderful. So it also requires a certain kind of taste to select the work when the
Yeah,
coordinate it with
and
the architect.
fortunately, and specifically these four projects that we just saw, we were very blessed to have wonderful clients. They were ready to listen to us. They had faith in us. So a lot of the credit also goes to them.
Yeah. So Ankit has a question here, and he's saying that so is it difficult to draw a line between landscape and architecture, or I think his question is related to his second question. Is it uh, how easy or difficult is the decision making when you sort of work collaboratively like this?
As I said, it is easy because a part of it is easy because we design it together. It is not designed as landscape differently. It is not designed as architecture differently and interiors differently. This is what we hope we are doing. But uh, when it gets to actual implementation, when it actually goes to building up those kind of spaces, yes, what material will stop at architecture, and then the interior spaces and what would continue is always a conflict because we don't want them to look different. So yeah, those kind of discussions do happen, and they are very fruitful at times. So we get in a lot of side people also telling us, including the client. But yeah, it's been interesting, and the negative part is um, for the first 2 3 projects that I just showed, because we were doing all the three together, we were given a certain budget, and by the time the end of the project comes where we are technically doing the planting or the landscape, you are kind of always short of it. But yeah, it works. It works because we
I would
didn't
imagine when you do
not.
it, yeah, I would imagine when you do it as an integrated thing, the first thing you would do is plant some trees on this.
I wish. I wish.
Uh, so Rishika has another question, and she's saying that how would you like to talk about how landscape works on very small projects and sites? I remember a project, not the one that you showed, but you had showed us a. I remember seeing another small terrace that you had done. It was wonderfully done.
Yes. So for a smaller project, the elements or the focal points or the material becomes more important rather than the expanse. So what you want to achieve in that given small space becomes more important. So that one small courtyard in Suhana with just few alocasia trees and one banana gave a whole tropical look to that small courtyard. Whereas one of the courtyard from the brick house where I had only laid literally aggregate out there, and with only one chafa, it gives away a minimalistic look. So, what you want to make your client or your the person who's living there feel is what you can certainly get. It's just like uh, the same concept. You can use it on a bigger scale as well as a smaller one.
Hmm. Rucha has an interesting question where she's asking that. So, so how do you make? How does landscape make the architecture complete? But I would also like to extend that question and say, and this is very difficult because it can happen only in studios like yours. That how is your visualization completely imagined? The inside, the outside, the interfaces. And I'm sure when you work in an integrated manner, they are all imagined at the same time. So, how does that work?
That is why the three constants that I have been talking about help, because we start, we both of us, even if the architect and the landscape architect are two different, but we are designing the same thing with the same three constants. One is the context. So we sit together and discuss the context of what we want to show there, what is important of the surroundings. So there is no two-way there. The second helps is the concept. So what exactly from, because context can be multiple, what are you going to take out of that many things is what is discussed on the table on day one. And then of course the content. So the moment you say that bricks is what the content would be, stone is what the content would be. So content in the sense, the material content, the massing is what is discussed, and then it becomes more or less like uh, a complementary thing where architecture, interior, and landscape go hand in hand. So the basic study, what we always did at SEPT, Sandeep, you know, the
Yeah.
research part is important. So even for a small project, we do research in a different way. So not going to books, but going to sites a lot, talking to the client a lot, and getting to know the surroundings a lot. So this is what a small research part that we try to do.
Interesting. Uh, so Namita has a specific question for Hermitage Retreat, and she's saying, how did you prevent soil erosion on the slope since you were not doing any plantation on it?
So what we did, the photograph, if you remember, was where we had done the contour trenching, the contour bunding. We did that too because the soil erosion was very heavy. There was nothing on site in terms of ground cover. So what we first thing that we did while the construction was on was contour bunding. So slowly it started, the water started percolating, the moisture content came up. So now if you go to the site, it's not as barren as it looks, but we have let the nature take it over. Without lawn, it is greener than the photographs right now. but we did not, interfere there. We let the site take over itself, And at the lower end, yes, we have planted few fruit trees which they wanted, which have not come in the photographs because it's an 1 acre site which is kind of sloping. So there is some plantation around which we did. Most of my plantation, I tried to be as native and local as possible. Few elements are added for the visuals that need to be.
Great. Bobby sir has a question, and I think if I interpret his question, what he's asking you is how does the interface with the client work when you're all working together? So is it the architect who's talking? Is it the land? Is it separate or is it like one big discussion happening together with the client and both you and Sunila?
Correct. So the first few meetings we go together where we are trying to analyze what he wants, where we are trying to understand the clients. If I cannot talk very nicely, Sunil is the more of the introvert of us, so it's me asking a lot of questions to the client. But that day I'm not there as a landscape architect, but a designer of the project. So we have kind of a questionnaire ready, which we generally ask because we want to know about their past. We want to know how they have reached what they are doing right now. For our gain, for us to understand them better. So we do a lot of talking in the start of the project, and that is where things start getting crystallized one after the other. So yeah, this is how it happens.
Yeah, so the profiling is done together and then the discussion. So the design discussions then happen separately for architecture and landscape, or are they
Not really.
being
All
together?
the design discussions, the presentations, everything happened together because we present it as one and not as three different things at all from day one till the last. It's only during the
Right.
execution part, if the foundation is getting laid, maybe I don't go. It's Sunil who goes. If it's plantation and something else is happening, is I go, he doesn't go. But whenever it's discussion on design, when there is a material selection, when there is anything of that which is going to affect either, we go together. And that is why maybe our projects take longer time for designing as well as execution, as well as, getting through to what we want. It is at times time consuming.
Yes, it's a complete effort, right? So Hemali has a specific technical question. So for the projects that you have in the countryside, do you sort of come across snakes commonly after they are or during or after they are built? And is there a strategy
I didn't
that you
get that.
apply?
I didn't get the question properly. Sandeep, can you repeat? Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. So in your projects that are outside the city, do you have a difficulty with snakes? And have you sort of been dealing with?
Snakes, fortunately, we didn't encounter in these four sites particularly, but other sites that I am doing, yes, they are there. We try not to disturb uh, their setting at all. So at 2 3 places, we also got things like the environmental survey done, so that I know where their den is and I don't disturb them at all. But not for these particular four projects. All the three main projects are very city. The other one was farmland, and those people were very used to it. So no, we did not encounter them in these four projects at least.
Okay. I think Namita has another question in continuation for the Hermitage retreat. So she's asking that the stone buttresses on the side, were they retaining the earth or were they aesthetic in construction?
The walls are load-bearing walls, so they are there structurally. If I cannot get back to the presentation, but in the presentation I had shown the plan with colors, if you remember. So it's a composite structure, Bugao. The roof is steel, so there are steel columns to take the load of the roof, but the wall are load bearing. So they are actual stone walls. They are not cladding. So the stone wall is actual load bearing. Only the deck part is what is RCC, which is cantilever. That is why RCC. So it's like a composite structure with every element purely doing what it is. It's nothing is visual. Same is the case with Barshi House
Okay.
itself. wall, the bricks are not at all only cladding bricks. They are actual bricks, and they are part of that cavity. So the outer brick wall is what the cavity of the outer cavity wall is.
Right. Uh, and Mohammad Ilyas has a question. If I reinterpret it, I would like to ask that when you go in this meeting as a designer, and how does your education as a landscape architect help you? Because you're now looking at the holistic view, like you said, when you go for it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So because not only because I'm a landscape architect, but yes, all the studies through the landscape. First thing that is taught to us is understanding the site. So maybe if an architect goes and a landscape goes at the same site, the interpretations, the study, the research would be very different. You know, so I look for places where there are a lot of trees or shrubs and try to understand the soil. So maybe that is not what if only an architect would visit the site. So yes, there are nuances there, understanding site, rocky outcrops, the type of soil. So most of the projects that we saw right now, as well as the other projects, what I try to do is not get a lot of soil from outside. I use the same soil from my site, and if there is something lacking, we add to it with in terms of compost or fertilizers. But I try not to get soil from outside, so that is what helps, and that's how I think the landscape architect would look at the same site differently and take out the elements that we need and we need not change uh, in the same.
Right. I think I had this question, and I think Shaili has asked it as well. Is that this designing the residence is a very sort of personalized,
Yes.
interaction that happens with the client, and it's an ongoing interaction. So, could you give us some insight into one, what are the kind of questions that you ask, and also secondly, how does the conversation?
Uh, yeah. So the understanding is firstly we try to understand the family itself. So we do ask a lot of questions about the client's background as to where he's come from, what are his aspirations or the dreams about this house, not the requirements in terms of spaces, but the dream that he has about this house. Uh, then we do discuss about what kind of architecture or what kind of they feel or went or liked through their life. We show what we like or we think is suitable for him, and then there is a discussion which happens. We talk to every individual of the house, so it's not only the man. We talk to the women of the house, the kids, everyone to understand their aspirations differently because everybody could have different views of the same house. So this is the inventory or the thing that we do for the clients. Then when it comes to the site, I go separately with, of course, Sunil as to understanding how it is. Other than the basic contour analysis, I go and kind of whatever basic knowledge I have about the soil and the existing topography or the existing trees there. Again, I think it's just like any other landscape architect could do, but just that we compile it and present it in a way that all the three are together, uh, discussed together. So the three are never discussed as a separate thing at all. And I think that has what has gone very nice with the clients also. So many a time client come to us because we do all the three together. So it helps.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. It's been a wonderful time, Shruti. Thank you. The presentation was wonderful. Everybody liked it. That if you go in the chat box, there are a lot of compliments for you. I'm sure that you can have a look at it.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining us, and thank you for taking out the time. And hope everyone enjoyed it thoroughly. Uh, so for our next session, we'll have landscape architect Aditi Pai from Bengaluru, and she will be speaking on the topic architecture for landscape. Thank you for joining us today, everyone. Thank you again, Shruti. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure being here. Good day.
Yeah. Good evening. Bye bye.
Bye bye.